To make things worse, Drake is now trying to sell off half of OVO to mega corporations that own mass market mall brands like Forever 21 and Reebok. That is the definition of a corporate fire sale. This reveals the real hidden incentive behind why a massive artist would flood the market with 3 albums, and also why a team might start to turn to things such as streaming bots.
Right here in the small box. With situations like this, you cannot spin this to make it positive. You can try your hardest to do so, but at the end of the day, it's going to fall flat, because you guys need to understand it's the percentage that makes this very concerning. Now, I do understand all of this is alleged. I understand that this is not a done deal. They're still in talks. But if they're making a post, that means the talks are going in a way that they want it to go. Or at least it's going in a way where they can get bread in their pockets. Right? A lot of people need to understand that. So let's go ahead and read this real quick. Breaking. Drake is reportedly, and the key word there is reportedly, selling a 50% stake in OVO to Authentic Brands Group. Authentic is a licensed giant behind the brands like Reebok, Champion, Forever 21, Brooks, and Sports Illustrated, while also managing the rights to cultural icons like Elvis Presley. I don't know about cultural icon. He's a cultural copy. Marilyn Monroe, Muhammad Ali, and Shaquille O'Neal. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're dealing with for today. This is actually concerning news. All right, because October's very own Aubrey's brand might be giving half of itself away, and there's actually a problem with that more than an actual solution. Because at face value, a lot of people are going to take this as a smart business move. But with a smart business move like that, where you're giving away 50% of your ownership, making it very difficult for you to make changes, by the way, regardless if you want, for example, let's take this for example. If you have an idea for your brand, for your merch, you can't ship the idea anymore. You have to present the idea to the person that bought 50% stake in it. And now they got to sit there and decide if they want to get on board with you or not. Now, judging how OVO clothing is looking right now, because a lot of people need to understand, in Canada, OVO clothing is actually not moving the way people are assuming. It's really not. Are people buying it? Absolutely. But are they buying it at a large rate, at a large influx? Absolutely not. OVO stores are not busy unless it's around holiday times or back to school times. That's usually when they're discounted. Now, what's the exact discount? I do not know personally, but I need people to understand it's not moving the way people think. Another thing that I've mentioned in videos in the past is that a lot of international citizens that do live in Canada are definitely buying OVO clothing. You're going to see a ton of them all over the place. With Iceman, the Iceman Project, how he I don't remember the exact song, but I remember him giving shout outs to the Middle Eastern culture. For here in Canada, Middle Easterns actually do love Drake to death. They love Drake to death because they see part of him in them, right? So like with the braids, with the beard, there's a lot of Middle Easterns here that be copying or emulating that look. So trust and believe me, don't be surprised when you see other people, for example, the couple guys and girls that were where they had their Drake lookalike party or the Drake lookalike contest. All right, you think those are light-skinned individuals? No, not all of them were. All right? So these are things a lot of people need to understand about what happens in Canada, because outside these borders, a lot of people are not going to know this information. So continuing along, what's up, Crown? How you feeling, gang? So continuing along, you also got to think about the retail side now. So when you look at the retail side, looking at Reebok, Champion, does it sell still? Absolutely. It does not sell how it used to, though. When Champion first came back, When Champion was on the block and it was hot again, it was definitely moving. But a lot of people need to understand is that what's going on with retail, what's going on with clothing right now is that not every brand, but there's a lot of popular brands today that has material shortage. So they're not actually producing the quality clothing or the quality styles that they used to do. Champion right now, they do have good styles. Or should I say colorways? They have good colorways, but in terms of actually unique streetwear styles, it's really not like that no more. And that's stretched across majority brands. Couple exceptions are Under Armour and Adidas, especially Adidas. When Adidas is sold internationally, their style is actually gets better when you go across the border or you go across the world and you go out in the East. So that's another thing a lot of people understand is that I don't think it's a good idea to be sitting down with Authentic Brands Group or ABG because it might put your brand, it might put your merch in spaces it probably shouldn't be in. Now, don't get it twisted. When it first launches, it's going to fly, but it's not going to last. The longevity is definitely not going to be there, and that's a bigger issue than people realize because the longevity is what's going to maintain the mystique behind OVO. The more OVO is in regular stores, I don't know where it's going to be specifically. What does that mean? I don't think it's wise to put OVO in regular stores because it's going to take away the mystique that OVO once had. When you see OVO collabs, when you see like some NBA jackets or the OVO hockey jerseys, things like that, the mystique is going to be there because those are now going to be collector's items. But for regular everyday OVO wear, it's actually going to bring down the mystique. And the mystique being just like the level of like, for lack of a better term, like the level of cool that comes with OVO. Because it definitely has some level of like dopeness, but it's not substantial whatsoever. So long-term wise, what their plan should be is to like, how do we continue to make this brand outstanding and stand out from the rest of the brands that we have under us? Or are they even going to consider that? Because at the end of the day, this is a money grab. All right, if I'm correct, the margin that they could potentially be getting is 50 to 150 million, if I'm correct. Okay. A lot of people need to understand the facts and the information that goes into these kind of things because this is not a good look. This is not a good look whatsoever. You can, like I said, you can try to spin it, but I promise you this is not a good business move. On top of that, like I said, it's the percentage. Like, it doesn't have to be 50. It could be 40. It could be 30. But 50? Half? You want to give away half? What if you get overridden? It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible for an override. A lot of people need to understand that part. He's paranoid, desperately needing liquid or both. Absolutely. But it's the fact that that's happening right now. And yes, happy, what's good, Brianne? Happy Juneteenth. My fault. I'm just locked in right now, you know? But the dangers that can come with this move is going to be very astounding. Okay, it's going to be very astounding. So at that point, it's like, it's less about the merch and more about the business. Are y'all going to get y'all business in order? Is the real question, right? Or is this a quick money grab to throw away half of what you built so you can fill up your pockets and pay your bills? Because apparently there's a lawsuit coming out of British Columbia now. But before we get there, I got one final thing I got to say about this right here. This is, like I said, this is not good. But this can be very damaging. This can be damaging because this is you. This is part of you. You've built this up since how long? This has been you this whole time throughout the beef, especially throughout your music videos. The t-shirts, the hoodies keep showing up everywhere you go. That's what built up the popularity for the clothing. But a move like this can take away that character from the brand. So now it's just going to be clothes than a lifestyle. Because a lot of people here did consider wearing OVO as like a lifestyle. I don't know how, but they did definitely consider that. Now it's just going to look like clothes. It's just going to be like clothes, literally. Like, yo, I forgot which brand specifically, but I remember there was a brand that was very popular that's being sold in Costco right now. If your clothes reach Costco, it's game over for the merch. All right, what is keep in mind, OVO Sound, the record label, what is OVO attached to? This can diminish your whole mystique. And I don't think a lot of people are making that connection yet, because the clothes is one thing, but the fact that your record label has the same name, that's concerning. It's like artists are going to walk in the building and be like, yo, can I get a discount, bro? Yo, man, I just need a producer, but yo, can I get like a 25% discount? I got a coupon. Like, yo, can you help me out, bro? Like, bro, that's not good. That is really not good at all. So now it's getting to a point like, what is this move going to do for your future? Because right now, it's not looking bright. We're following this story. We're following the development for a reason. For somebody that's from Toronto, I care. And to see these kind of moves, this rings red lights in my brain. This is not good moves. These are horrible moves. So I pray it works out for you, because on paper, based on what I'm seeing right now, and we're going to get into the actual article, but this is not good. It's not good. It's concerning. Watch it yet, but I saw the reel that somebody posted, and I feel like this is important to watch. So let me just read this at the top. When your entire identity is built on being the exception, finding out you're actually the example has to be devastating. Your throne was always a cage. Oh my God. So I hope this is the right creator. Shout out to Joe Cat. We're going to check out your video right now.
What Drake desperately doesn't want you to know is why he's flooding the market with new music. We see the private jets, the $1 million casino bets, and we think there's no way that the guy who's rapping about how he loves to see other people struggling with their bill payments, no way that he would be hurting for money. But superstars don't go broke the way that normal people do. They don't wake up with $0 the way that normal people do. Instead, they get caught in a liquidity trap. They have hundreds of millions tied up in assets, mansions, planes, but very little cash available when an actual massive bill drops. And right now, those bills are dropping hard. Drake's brand was just sued by a major lender for defaulting on millions in loans. They missed their deadlines so badly that an outside management company had to step in and wire $3.8 million just to stop the banks from freezing their assets. To make things worse, Drake is now trying to sell off half of OVO to mega corporations that own mass market mall brands like Forever 21 and Reebok. That is the definition of a corporate fire sale. This reveals the real hidden incentive behind why a massive artist would flood the market with 3 albums, and also why a team might start to turn to things such as streaming bots. When an empire hits a cash crunch, your music, your merchandise, all become your personal money printer. And if you remember, within the last year, he's been doing partnerships with Disney, Marvel, McDonald's, which are youth-adjacent brands.
There's no money.
Audience he's in court suing about being associated with. This is the fastest way to turn public attention into cash to pay off angry lenders. He's not flooding the market because he loves his fans or he's passionate about music. He's doing it because the bills of his lifestyle are officially due. Do y'all understand that he completely floods the market so that nobody else can compete, which means that everyday independent artists are paying out of pocket to fund a billionaire's lifestyle?
Well, he's not a billionaire, but damn! Oh! Nah, when he mentioned ABG as like a house for mall brands, oh yeah, he got me with that one. I'm not gonna lie. He definitely got me with that one. And then the collaborations. Oh my God. Are the collaborations really generating revenue for you? Did McDonald's collaboration really work for you? Because I see a lot of people buying the drink. I see a lot of people with the cup. But fun fact, McDonald's workers were actually stealing the OVO cups to resell on eBay, to resell on Facebook Marketplace, so people can have the cup. But did they really go and get the drink? Oh, God. The amount of times I talk to somebody and they're like, yo, I just stole a fat rack of the OVO cups from work, running out the back door. Bruh. Oh, my God. All those collabs. I don't hear nothing positive about those collabs. They just fall into the wind. That's an issue. That's a problem. That is concerning. Jesus Christ. I wonder if anybody can spin this to make it positive. You know what? I'm sure people have already done it, but that's a challenge. If there's anybody out there that can actually spin this situation to make it positive, you deserve a medal. Because I don't know how you're going to do this. Now, keep in mind, the average listener, and for all the people that's in the chat, you guys are not average listeners. Let's go ahead and make that clear. But for the average listener, they are not intelligent. So maybe you can spin this to make it positive, you know? Maybe you can convince the Drake fans that this is a good move for the future. But Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Yo, I ain't going to lie. Bro, the representation Toronto has, we need better. It's like we need better. Because as far as I see it, the representation that we're getting from Toronto is from The Weeknd, is from Justin Bieber, is from Jessie Reyez. Those three artists in Toronto, they got the whole city on their shoulders. Especially Jessie Reyez, because she just dropped her project. Turns out the last song on her project is featuring Bob Marley. Where did she get the money to get a Bob Marley feature? I just want to know. Because as far as I see it, the estate got blessed. How the hell you get a Bob Marley feature? That's wild to me. But The Weeknd is actually leading the path for artists here because of his business moves. It seems that The Weeknd is making some very good business moves. Justin Bieber just got a fat rack of money from Rolling Loud for what he did. Was it really good? Was it a really good performance any kind of way? No. But there was a reason why that he performed his songs like that. Because he doesn't own them. Justin Bieber doesn't own his old songs no more. Right? So the way that he was doing it on the Rolling Loud stage, playing it off of YouTube, having a karaoke session, yeah, was it a bad look? Performance-wise, absolutely. But that saved his pockets. That saved his pockets. Just having everybody sing along so he doesn't have to sing. And besides, he knows that his old music is still hot. He knows his fans. So that's mission accomplished through my eyes. Of course, I'm never going to go to a Justin Bieber concert. But just seeing that at work, you did what you needed to do, literally. Now, we've talked about this before when it comes to Drake's catalog. We've already went through this multiple times. From Thank Me Later to Scorpion, UMG has the masters to those albums. From So Far Gone, skipping Thank Me Later to Scorpion. So from So Far Gone, skipping a couple albums to Certified Lover Boy, then Up. Those are yours. Those are under the OVO name. But your biggest projects, Views, Scorpion, More Life. If you're reading this, it's too late. Thank Me Later. So Far Gone. Those are your best albums of your career. And UMG owns them. So it doesn't matter what kind of streaming revenue you're going to get from that. That's going straight to UMG. And shout out to Curtis King, because if you want those back, it's going to take about 30 to 35 years before you can get that back under your name. And that's if they want to give it back. Houston, we have a problem. So make long story short, Drake and Floyd Mayweather are going broke. Oh, Lord. Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. Careful, Flex. Them stands are lurking. Yeah, I know. Let me. Recession indicator is wild. You didn't know he collabed with Marvel? That's the point. That's the point. That's why it never worked. And I'm a fan of Marvel, so I did see it, but it's nothing really substantial to purchase. Like, unless you're like an actual hype beast, you're gonna make that purchase. But for regular people, they're not making that purchase. Jesus, bro. I can't believe what I'm witnessing right now. This is a big problem. Get yourself something to drink, because we're going to go ahead and get into this reaction, all right? Because this one's actually going to be important. This one's actually going to be very important, okay? All I got to say is like, comment, share, subscribe. You know the vibe. You tapped in with your favorite Canadian reaction channel and network. Let's go ahead and dive in with this video right here by DeVille. Big shout outs to DeVille, of course, friend of the channel. Yo, don't forget to hit the hype button on the video when the video drops, all right? That'll be greatly appreciated. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this right here, all right? Let's go. What is going on? I need a better understanding, bruh.
Drake's legal trouble continues to stack up, as now his company OVO and the logo could possibly be in jeopardy after they took a loan out from this company by the name of ARI. So apparently Drake's company borrowed money. OVO had paid some of the money back just to get itself out of the debt that it owed this company, but the lender claims that OVO still owes millions of dollars and additional fees, interest, and costs. OVO disputes that. However, if OVO ultimately loses and still doesn't pay, the lender could seek to collect against OVO's assets. In a worst case scenario, that could put valuable assets, including the OVO label, trademarks, and the logo itself, the owl itself, at risk, but only after a court judgment and collection proceedings. Now, how did this all happen? So
You could lose the logo?
lawsuit is between ARI, OVO Growth Capital LLC, and October's very own ULC. This is a notice of a civil claim. It says here, ARI OVO Growth Capital LLC brings this claim to recover amounts owing by October very own ULC under the convertible note purchase agreement and 5 convertible promissory notes issued by OVO to ARI. Between July 14th and August 5th, 2025, OVO issued 5 convertible promissory notes to ARI in the egregious principal amounts of $5 million. The notes were 5-year convertible debt, instruments containing, among other things, conversion rights, information rights, repayment restrictions, default remedies, and a contractual make-whole fee designed to provide ARI with minimum negotiated return and to protect ARI against the loss of benefit of its bargain if the notes were repaid or otherwise terminated before maturity. OVO subsequently defaulted under the notes by failing to make required payments when due and by breaching other obligations under the governing financing documents. On or about February 27, 2026, ARI delivered a notice of default to OVO identifying multiple events or default and reserving all rights and remedies available under the financing documents and at law. On about March 20th, 2026, ARI and OVO entered into forbearance agreement pursuant to which OVO expressly acknowledged existing defaults and further acknowledged that the indebtedness and other amounts owing under the financing documents were valid, binding, and unconditionally owing without set-off, defense, counterclaim, deduction, or reduction. Thereafter, OVO made a partial payment while disputing its obligation to pay make-whole fee.
But he's supposed to have money, though, because, like, how you making partial payments is my question. Now I'm confused off of that, just off rip. Because you're supposed to have money for real. Like $4 million, that's technically nothing for you. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding of the situation at this point. Let's continue with the video.
Contractual amount. OVO's payment did not satisfy all amounts owing under the notes because substantial amounts remained due and payable, including the make-whole fee, default interest, enforcement costs, and contractual amounts. As of June 11, 2026, after application of payments previously received, ARI claims remaining unpaid obligations of at least $4,600,000, including amounts owing in respect of the make-whole fee, together with the default rate interest, additional legal fees, and expenses, enforcement costs, ARI's contractual fees, and charges and other amounts that continue to occur. Essentially, OVO took a loan out from ARI, and ARI is claiming that even though Drake made a partial payment, he still owes them money. Just because he took out the loan and decides to pay it early doesn't mean that he still doesn't owe them money from the agreement that they made. ARI is a limited liability company incorporated under the laws of Delaware, USA. So this lawsuit is in British Columbia, but they have ties to the US. So this means that this is US dollars. OVO is an unlimited liability company incorporated under the laws of British Columbia, which carries on business in British Columbia and other provinces. Says Drake is OVO's majority owner, co-founder, and central cultural figure. OVO generated approximately $72 million in revenue in 2024 and nearly $400 million from 2019 to 2024. While earning those revenues, OVO suffered net loss, specifically negative EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization of approximately $8 million in 2024 and approximately $12 million in the aggregate during the 3-year period from 2022 through 2024. OVO sought external financing, including debt and equity capital, in connection with its business operations and growth initiatives. At the time, an affiliated entity, October's very own merchandising, was subjected to an existing credit facility with Royal Bank of Canada, RBC. In connection with RBC credit facility, Aubrey Drake Graham, Oliver L. Khatib, and Noah Shabib, also known as 40, who were also OVO's principals in connection with the ARI financing relationship, personally guaranteed certain OVO merchandising obligations to RBC. On or about February 24, 2025, Aubrey Drake Graham, Oliver L. Khatib, and Noah Shabib entered into a side letter in connection with the RBC credit facilities in which they personally guarantee a portion of the debt. One release condition of the guarantee obligation was evidence satisfactory to RBC that there had been an equity investment of no less than $30 million in OVO merchandising and that certain facilities totaling approximately $10 million at the time had been repaid in full. The side letter provided that OVO merchandising could use proceeds from $30 million equity injection to satisfy those identified facilities. Shortly after the side letter was executed in or around March 2025, OVO contacted ARI regarding both near-term bridge capital and contemplated $30 million equity-linked financing. OVO's investor materials stated that the majority of the proceeds from the contemplated $30 million financing would be used for growth marketing, for which OVO had not historically spent material amounts. In connection with the finance process, OVO and ARI were introduced through a mutual connection and thereafter discussed potential financing transactions, including an initial senior secured loan transaction and subsequently the notes. The separate senior secured loan transaction. Before OVO issued the notes to ARI on or about May 16, 2025, ARI Senior Secured Growth Credit Fund LP, through ARI agent, entered into senior secured loan transaction with October very own IP Holdings, an affiliate of OVO. The senior secured loan was secured by OVO intellectual property collateral, including rights relating to the names of October's very own and the OVO's owl logo. The senior secured loan transaction provided for $10 million facility, of which an initial tranche of $2.5 million was advanced. The senior secure loan transaction was separate from the notes and involved different parties, different financing documents, different economic terms, different collateral, and different repayment obligations. Following the closing of the first tranche of the senior secure loan, OVO sought an additional external capital from ARI and its affiliates through the notes as part of OVO's contemplated 30 million equity-linked financing. The collateral included OVO intellectual property, specifically rights associated with October's very own, and the owl.
He's gotta pay almost $5 million or lose 50% of his own brand. Bro, pay them. Like what? Pay them. 5 million is nothing. Pay them. Oh my God.
Logo. Drake's company, OVO, used the OVO brand and owl logo as collateral for a separate secured loan. If OVO were unable to repay that secured loan,
He doesn't
those
have it.
assets could potentially be seized or sold by the lender. However, the current lawsuit over the convertible notes involves a different financing arrangement and does not automatically mean that OVO brand is being taken. However, it is up for grabs though at this point because Drake and his team decided to put it up. On March 31st, 2026, OVO Holdings repaid a senior secured loan. The repayment of the senior secured loan satisfied obligations arising under that facility only. The repayment of the senior secured loan did not satisfy, reduce, waive, compromise, or otherwise affect OVO's obligation under the notes, the forbearance agreement, or any other agreement. Pursuant to the purchase agreement, OVO issued and sold to ARI, and ARI purchased 5 convertible promissory notes, having an egregious principal amount of $5,234,121.93 as follows. Convertible promissory note number 1, dated July 14th, in the original principal amount of $500,000, another one for $300,000, another one for $1.5 million, $2.3 million, and $500,000. Pursuant to the purchase agreement and the notes, ARI advanced funds to OVO, and OVO agreed to abide by the terms of the convertible debt agreement. The convertible debt agreement provides that ARI has certain conversion rights as defined and described in more detail below. The convertible debt agreement provides OVO must pay interest on the outstanding principal at 10% per annum, the applicable rate, payable quarterly in advance on the first business day of each other. Any overdue amount bears an additional interest.
Wait. See, now I got a question. Is that the 5 million with interest or without interest? Bro, when I see that word interest, I get concerned. I ain't gonna hold you.
The maturity date for repayment of the notes is June 30th, 2030. God damn. Upon the occurrence of an event of default, ARI is entitled to accelerate the indebtedness and demand immediate payment of all amounts owing. If the notes are repaid or become due prior to maturity date, including upon acceleration following an event of default, OVO is required to pay the make-whole fee, being an additional amount determined in accordance with the notes to provide ARI with the minimum contractual return agreed to by the parties. OVO may not prepay the notes prior to the maturity date without ARI's consent, and any permitted repayment must include all amounts owing under the notes, including the make-whole fee. And the parties adjourn to the exclusive jurisdiction of the courts of British Columbia in respect of any action or proceeding arising thereunder. They put that boy under the same UMG deal that he got from Lucian Grange, bro. That's the best way that I could explain that shit.
Oh my God. They want to sell OVO first before losing in court so they can pay the debt to save face, and it's without interest? Yo, this is horrible business practices, bro. Oh my God. Yo, this is crazy.
Even if he tries to pay this loan back early, it's not going to matter. They got his ass until 2030, and whatever shit he has to pay it up. If not, his label and the owl is at risk. This shit is crazy, bro. The notes were structured as a 5-year convertible debt instrument that provides ARI with valuable contractual rights to become equity holders in OVO. In specified circumstances, including certain financing transactions and change of control transactions, ARI was entitled to convert amounts owing under the notes into equity securities of OVO rather than receive payment in cash. The conversion rights were subject to pricing protections negotiated by the parties, including a 20% conversion discount and a valuation cap of $200 million. The conversion discount and valuation cap provided ARI with the opportunity in specified circumstances to acquire equity in OVO at a price below that available to other investors and form part of the consideration negotiated by the parties for ARI's investment in the notes. The conversion rights, the conversion discount, the valuation cap, and the make-whole fee form part of a single integrated economic bargain negotiated between the parties. OVO defaulted under the convertible debt agreements by, among other things, failing to make required quarterly interest payments when due. Interest payments that were due beginning in July and August of 2025 were not paid when due and remain unpaid beyond the applicable 3 business day grace period provided under the notes. Such amounts were not remitted until January 2, 2026. Interest for the first quarter of 2026, which was due on January 2nd, 2026, was likewise not paid when due and remained unpaid beyond the applicable 3-day grace period and was not remitted until February 19th, 2026. Each failure to pay interest within that prescribed time at applicable grace period constituted an event and default under Section 6. Subsequent payment of certain of those amounts did not cure the consequence of the events of default or waive ARI sites arising therefrom, including its entitlement to interest at the default rate. In addition, certain payments made by OVO were not made in accordance with the payment provisions of the notes, including payments that were remitted to an account held by entity other than ARI. Any such payments did not comply with the notes and did not operate as a waiver of modification of the payment terms. Now, OVO and ARI enter a forbearance agreement. Basically, OVO owes them money now, and they're giving them time so they can pay it back. OVO never pays it back. Shocker, I know. It says OVO failed to pay the outstanding debt during the term of the forbearance agreement or otherwise comply with the terms of that agreement. As a result, the forbearance period terminated in accordance with its terms, and ARI became entitled to exercise all rights and remedies under the convertible debt agreement and the forbearance agreement. ARI delivered a repayment statement to OVO setting out for the amounts ARI calculated as owing under the convertible debt agreement and forbearance agreement, including principal, the make-whole fee, accrued interest, default interest, legal fees, enforcement costs, etc., etc. Contractual amounts ARI advised OVO that payment in full required payment of all such amounts, not merely repayment of principal.
Yo, Bar, I think so. Based on what you said, how can they be paid if they don't know about it? I feel like everything that we've went through so far, I think they did know, but they probably brushed it to the side, if that makes sense. I feel like they just had the idea like, oh, we got to pay him back. Nah, man, we going to take our time with them. And then forgot about it. Because it would have made sense for them to not know. You got to know this. You got to know this. That's why these guys are taking them to court. But this situation is insane. This is insane.
OVO makes a partial payment that does not satisfy the outstanding debt. On May 27th, ARI received a wire payment of $3.8 million from ADG Sound Management account. The wire details identified the payment reference as OVO notes. ARI received and retained those funds solely as a partial payment on the account and under a full reservation of rights and did not accept them as full payment or satisfaction of all amounts owing under the convertible debts agreement. 3.8 million, God damn. And that's a partial payment. It's crazy to think that Drake owes this much money when he's always bagging on people for not having money. Recently, Rick Ross has been in the light. People have been trashing him using Drake lyrics, saying that he don't got no bread. Whole time, Drake is the one with no bread. How are you going to mock people for not having money when you're the one that owes other people money?
And that's why I do what I do, because you can't lean on one side and not take care of the other side. This is the hypocrisy I keep talking about. You can't say one thing and then be living the same thing you're trying to tell people. That's crazy. That doesn't make sense. That's not good character. That's not how you build as an artist. That's terrible. That's a terrible example for artists here. That's a terrible representation for artists here. Because a lot of artists here are going to see these kind of movements. They're going to see this kind of shit and sit there and be like, oh yeah, this is what I got to do as an artist. All right, bet. No! You got to have your business in order. Mandatory. You got to learn this business. You can't sit there and just be on airplane mode for the whole thing. That's crazy. This is a horrible example. And that's why I keep trying to tell people. I feel like I got to do my rounds on these podcasts again, bro. I got to spin the block on some of these podcasts because people need to really understand. Yo, the way dude is moving is a horrible example of how to move as an artist. It takes a lot of knowledge and information to be great. You have to be smart to be great in this music shit. You can't wing it for the whole thing and then just come up on vibes, be like, yeah, we gonna pay it eventually. No! That's blasphemy. You gotta be smart. That's a requirement now. If you don't want to be smart, then the music industry is gonna rob you dry. That's what they do. That's what they've been doing. That's how they flood their pockets. By robbing artists dry. All because they signed a little piece of paper, bro. That's so crazy to me.
After defaulting under the convertible debt agreement, OVO has attempted to avoid its full contractual payment obligation despite demand.
Raven, yes.
To refuse to pay full amounts owing under the convertible debt agreements as of June 11, 2026. The total amount remaining due and owing pursuant to convertible debt agreement, including without limitation, the outstanding make-whole fee, default interest, legal fees, professional fees, enforcement costs, lender expenses, and other recoverable amounts is $4.6 million. The amount owing to ARI continued to accrue. So I think that's $4.6 million.
Yo, Bars, let me tell you something. Yo, if you're an artist, I'm just going to tell you this right now. You got to get into the business of trademarking because copywriting is not going to protect you anymore. You got to trademark your shit. And the problem with trademarking is that it takes money. So you got to copyright it. But copywriting your shit doesn't come with full protection. It's not like that anymore. In fact, that's partial protection. You have to trademark it so nobody can take it. That's the thing. Because if you copyright, cool, somebody can still come true and steal your shit. Now you got to take them to court. And when you're in court, that's the long game. Court is the long game. That's not short term. So you better pray you got words are hard. You better pray you got bans. Because real talk, copywriting is not going to help nobody no more. You can copyright all your shit and people can still take it. You got to trademark it, bro. Trust me. Absa did a breakdown earlier. I was watching her live, but the problem is that I jumped in at the middle, so I missed the beginning. So I was kind of confused, you know? My personal opinion is he took out this loan to fund the botting of the 3 albums in hopes it could get a big return. He's a gambler, a horrible gambler. Put OVO as collateral for the loan. That is wild. Crazy. Real talk. Only want to make music. It's tough, bro. Like, if you want to make music, you got to do it without being in the industry in a sense. But at the same time, as soon as you make that song and you put it out on the internet, you're in the industry without being signed. That's so crazy. That's how much power the industry has. God damn. Hey, I'm going to tell you this right now as well. Find a lawyer friend. Find a lawyer friend that works within music or the music industry. That mother is going to save your life. All right? I'm going to tell you that. That mother is going to save your life.
And counting. God damn. That is insane, man. The fact that this guy had already paid almost like $4 million and then he has to owe another 4.6. He owed them like $10 million, bro. He only paid half of it and they went and said half. I don't want half. I want the whole effing thing. And if I don't get it, that owl is mine. This man really signed this bogus ass deal, this bogus ass loan. You have to be so desperate to sign something like this, or you have to be so naive to think that you were just walking away with this type of money and nothing bad could happen if you didn't pay it back. Now the conversation is, why didn't he just pay the full amount? If he has the money to pay it, why not just pay the whole thing? Why just pay half of it? If you know that your company is at risk because you put it up for a loan, you might as well just pay that whole thing. It's the fact that he's asking for a loan in the first place is what seems suspicious. People want to clown people for not riding in a private jet. People want to clown people for riding a commercial on a plane. And it's those same people that are putting their label up for collateral. This revealed a whole...
That's why I hate the fans. I truly hate the fans because y'all don't know how this life come by. Y'all don't know how this rich, expensive, lavish life come by. To be honest, the way I'm looking at it now is that it takes more money to live this than to actually live. That's the thing. Look how much money that comes up out of your bank account, and then how much time do you have to like sit back and actually relax? Is this why he keep going to Turks and Caicos? You even need to stop going to Turks and Caicos. I ain't gonna hold you. You might have to start flying these girls in. You can't keep taking that plane out because it's expensive to use. It's easy to come by, but it's so expensive to use. Every time you take off, everything needs to be 100% in order. Unless you want to fall out the sky. That's so crazy. Yeah, you got to fly these girls in, gang. And hey, you better pray these girls will be asking for like 5-6 figures. Because they're going to bleed you dry. Holy shit.
Can of worms. If Drake doesn't pay this money back, there's a chance that he could lose his label. And it seems like he might not be as rich as people think. But
Sell
Drake's
the house.
finances are starting to look like they're in the danger zone. Y'all let me know what you think, because at this point, either he's desperate for money because he ain't got none, or two, his team is so idiotic and his friends don't know what they're doing. But at that point, it's really up for debate. Y'all could tell me, what do you think about this in the comment section, and let me know. Y'all make sure y'all like the video, hype the video, subscribe to the channel. To donate to the channel, make sure you hit the Cash App at the top right corner of the video or the link in the description. I appreciate everybody out here. Join the Patreon too. I'll see you on the next one, man. Peace. Keep it a legend.
The biggest mistake, your most foolish mistake you have ever made was to sue your own label. You gotta pay those lawyer fees. And knowing that your name comes with wealth, your name comes with a so-called billionaire status, them lawyer fees are going to be expensive. It's almost as if you checkmated yourself. That's crazy. That's crazy. With the information that we've been learning, with the information that we've been finding, going through this timeline, going through this story that's been developing, bro, your business decisions that you make is the reason why you're in situations like this. Forget Kendrick Lamar calling you out on his songs. Forget that, because that's already been established. It's just that when Kendrick Lamar called you out, now the world knows. So instead of wasting your money on the lawyer fees at the time of the beef, you should have spent your money, you should have used your money to cover up everything Kendrick's been talking about. That's why I say this rap beef goes deep. It's deeper than just a battle. It's honestly, at this point, it's deeper than just an era versus era battle. Because that was my peak for how I would describe the battle. But at this point, to what this is developing into, it's far beyond era versus era. I don't even know how to describe it anymore. That's the level of this ish, though. That's why I'm concerned. Impressionable minds, yes, we have very easy impressionable minds in Toronto. Like I said one and many times, we don't got a culture. We have multiple international cultures, but without that culture itself here, we're missing that kind of knowledge that makes us great. So now we're great, but now we slow. Let's not forget what Birdman said. We've seen some of the clips. He's in business with Drake for life. That came out of Birdman's mouth. He's in business with Drake for life. And that was the statement of the reel.
And this one gonna hurt y'all little feelings. This is what Jay-Z meant when he was telling Drake, in perpetuity is how your contract is worded. I think he means this too. I think he means it.
About how he turned in the last album on his deal. What is the current status?
We forever in business with Drake.
Because of the masters, at least.
We forever in business with Drake.
What's the next deal look like?
We forever in business with Drake.
I mean, we can't speak up on none of
All I
that.
can tell you is we forever in business with Drake.
Looks to me like he signed that name in blood with Birdman.
And perpetuity means? What does perpetuity mean, Lord Tyrion? Forever.
Forever.
But I hope everything works out. I don't know. I don't know. I hope something works for you, bruh. Because like I said, I don't know what you signed. But if you think that's the best thing for you to sign, do what you got to do. That's all I got to say. Do what you got to do. Because I feel like whatever you signed is really hurting you more than helping you. And it's definitely has gotten to a point where you're going to have to start questioning things. Right? So, all I got to say is that I hope it's worth it, man.